Right, guys. Hello. This is Alex Fedotoff, and today we have a very interesting guest. We have John Roman. So John is a commerce entrepreneur. He led 3 acquisitions. He participated in 2 exits, and his current brand portfolio generates $30 million annually. So he's next level entrepreneur, 8-figure entrepreneur. So I'm very excited to have John with us today. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex. I'm excited to be here.
Cool, awesome. And one of the projects that you currently work with, like, I checked all of the, the brands that you currently working on. So this is the subscription box that you guys are offering, right?
Yeah, so the vast majority of everything in our portfolio is subscription centric. So BattlBox was a brand we started from scratch back in 2015. And it's the main pillar, it's the flagship, if you will. And everything we've done since has been, based off those learnings, whether it's, through acquisition, we've acquired a few decent sized brands that are in the subscription space. And then we've launched quite a few ourselves, we've launched some and sold them. But, really our baseline of knowledge comes from launching BattlBox. And, BattlBox is a juggernaut at this point for us, but it's still about 90% subscription and only 10% one time.
Oh, really? So 90% of all of the orders that you get are like subscription, like people just subscribe and like stay
Correct.
with you guys?
Yeah.
Wow. How do you get to that? To those tremendous numbers, right? Like normal, because I'm not very familiar, but for me, it sounds like, wow, the in terms of the retention and the lifetime value of that customer, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, so we're definitely non-standard. When you look at the subscription box, mystery box, subscription box space, which the people that started it, the Birch boxes with female makeup samples, they're one of the OGs, Luke Great, who is kind of around still, but not really. I think they went through chapter 11 and got repurchased. But you look at all of those, and we are a little bit different in the sense that our average order value for a subscription is over $100. So our ARPU, if you will, is over $100 a user. So it's a more premium luxury subscription.
So
box.
it's like $100 on a monthly basis people pay?
Yeah, so our top and most popular offering is the Pro Plus, which is $160 a month, $160 a month plus shipping.
Wow, I see that. It has Axe in it?
And we have 4 different tiers with BattlBox: the basic, the advanced, the Pro, and the Pro Plus. And they stack on top of each other. So if you get the Pro Plus, you get everything from the basic, everything from the advanced, everything from the Pro. And the Pro Plus is actually a knife of the month, if you will, knife or sharp tool. So traditionally knives, but an occasional axe, occasionally something that still kind of fits in that mold.
Wow, this is awesome. So what got you into the subscription model in the first place? You just seen the success, you evaluated the market, and what got you into it? Or you're just attracted to the higher multiples, because the multiples there are probably when you exit.
Yeah, so for me, it was probably honestly a little bit closer to the latter. But the origin of BattlBox is a very cool one. So my business partner, Daniel, he's the one that came up with the idea and the concept. His fiance was getting a Birch box in the mail, right? And he'd watch her open it. He'd watch that excitement level, the surprise. And, he was like, well, I kind of want that for myself, right? So he's an avid outdoorsman, and he jumped online, and he's trying to find a subscription box for an outdoorsman, a lover of camping, a lover of hiking, a lover of getting outside and getting into adventures. And he couldn't find anything. And this was early January 2016. And within, very creative guy, so within a few weeks, he had come up with a logo. We have a newer logo now, but it was our logo for several years. And he went to a platform that we're also no longer on, called Cratejoy, which is a very niche, think of almost like a Shopify, where it's a platform, but it's subscription box centric. So everything's a template. makes it super easy. You can throw a website and a concept and an idea within, probably a couple hours. So he had quickly launched a site in February of 2016, and obviously we've had a lot of revisions, and it's a completely different animal than it is today. But yeah, it came from a need of him wanting something, couldn't find it, so he said, "I'll do it for myself," and it turned out that tens of thousands of people, I guess at this point, hundreds of thousands of people, wanted the same thing.
Huh. So that initial test, so that your partner launched, like, was it successful? You launched it on Facebook, or where did you launch it initially?
Yeah, so out of the jump, I would say relative moderate success. So in February, that first month in 2016, we had no, I guess 2015, I apologize. We had 200 subscribers that first month. So it was Facebook ads. None of us had a background in Facebook ads. I came on board and joined about 3 weeks after launch. So we were coming towards the end of February. A combination of Facebook and then him jumping into like bulletin board forums, Reddits, if you will, for like outdoorsmen, survival experts, and saying, "Hey, I'm launching this box, check it out." So there was a lot of like guerrilla, old school, like feet on the street, if you will, right? And 200 subs the first month. The second month,
at the profit, or was it like, or did you expect them to kind of like turn into profit after a few months? Was it profitable first months?
Yeah, I mean, so the interesting thing about a subscription model, and this works obviously when you're small, when you get to a certain size, it's not possible anymore. But with a subscription model, that first month is really proof of concept, because you're getting money from everybody before you actually send the first box out. You're collecting money for 30 days. So when you're talking about 200 of a product, you can quickly find 200 of a product from a couple of vendors, buy it with the money you've already received. Money had to go on a credit card, but it was momentary, and it was quickly paid off. So there was never any debt besides the first couple months of just waiting for that first renewal. And then we all started working on Facebook ads in March. We had a little over 1,000 new subscriber signups.
Wow,
and then
that's pretty good. Like for such fresh new business, right? That's pretty.
Yeah, with us not being Facebook experts either. Facebook was a lot different back then, but still. And then month 3, we had a little over 2,000 new signups, and at that point, it was off to the races. I think.
So you would say it was almost like instant hit.
100%. So I mean, we did, that first year we ended up doing $4.5 million in sales, just to give you an idea. So it was definitely a perfect timing. It was ebbs and flows of the subscription niche in e-commerce, but it was definitely a point to enter. And that and outdoor gear was something that was trending as well. So it was kind of a perfect timing for a few different reasons.
That's awesome. So in terms of the, obviously, like, things changed a lot since then. Are you guys still advertising on Facebook? Like, you still, like, are you compliant? Like, survival is kind of like some of the products are on the ad.
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it's a weird story. So we were, when we started in 2015, that first full year, almost, we were exclusively on Facebook, right? That was our only advertising. 99% of our traffic came from Facebook. And I remember we were, and this just plays to our ignorance of not being experts at the time. We were going into Labor Day weekend. So we're in September-ish, and we're planning to go into this weekend. We have some new ads that we're turning on. Like we're expecting this to be our best weekend we've ever had. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And 6 p.m., 7 p.m., Friday evening, all of our ads get turned off. This is the first time this has happened. And our advertising account gets canceled. We go from top of the world to zero traffic, right? Because 99% of our traffic is coming from Facebook. We don't get back, good luck getting someone from Facebook on the phone, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that's a thing. We're, calling everybody, emailing everybody, trying to figure something out. Ironically, we don't have it anymore, but at the time, battleboxforum.com, it was a bulletin board for our customers and just like-minded individuals that were outdoorsmen. And we had thousands of people in there. we post on there, Hail Mary. Does anybody know anybody at Facebook? One of our customers works at Facebook, and he's in the department next door to the team that does the manual auditing of ads. He walks over there, we're back on an hour later. This is the following Wednesday. But at that point, it was, okay, we're back on, but this cannot happen again.
Yeah.
So our biggest effort at that point was diversification as much as possible. So we went a mile wide on advertising, and we didn't want anything to be too much of a lead source. We eventually got kicked off Facebook completely.
Really?
Yeah, we were banned couldn't advertise at all. And we ended up in at the end of 2019 spending quite a bit of money on a development solution where I'm using what we call microsites and other domains and other Facebook pages that we were creating just for advertising. We created a solution where if traffic originated from Facebook or Instagram, they got a completely different experience than a normal customer.
So you mean cloaking, right?
I don't know if that's the right term. We were doing things like the images would be completely different. We'd switch up copy would be different. It was just a different experience if we could identify the where the traffic was coming from. Is that what cloaking is?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
You guys did it. Yeah. Did Facebook catch up to that?
Yeah, so we spend 6 figures a month on Facebook now. We're in full compliance. We're doing exactly what they wanted us to do. They want to give a PG experience where no knives, nothing can be purchased.
Yeah.
They wanted us to change the business, which wasn't an option. And it's definitely a double standard, right? Like, we're never positioning and selling our knives ever. Like, that's just something that exists, but we're not promoting it. But, Dick's Sporting Goods spends $1 million with them a month. They sell guns.
No shit. Yeah, seriously.
But they're not advertising the guns, and we're not advertising the knives. So it's a double standard, because if you're spending, 7 figures with them a month, they'll turn their eyes and look the other way.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, sometimes you see these ads like, how is it even possible these people are still, and I know some heavy advertisers like doing, 9 figures a year. And if I would try, or you would try like selling the same product as they, like, would get shut down like tomorrow.
Good luck. No shot.
Yeah. Wow. So how do you guys like diversify? So you had those issues with Facebook. What other platforms you diversified to? Like, how did you?
Yeah, so we went anything you could think of. So all the logical stuff. So that first year we weren't on Google AdWords, now Google Ads, which is mind blowing that we weren't on them, but we didn't know any better. So we quickly got on Google Ads. Google Ads quickly became our number one source, and then we went on all the other social channels. So Snapchat, Twitter, Pinterest, they all have their own part in our ecosystem. We went deep on podcasts. We did some like TV commercials, didn't perform very well. We do some print ads and publications that are in the outdoor space. But honestly, that's more of it's so difficult for tracking, right? And it's more of a, let's just break.
Branding,
yeah, it's branding. We don't want to lose money on them, but if we're break even, we know from a branding perspective it's profitable. And then we at this point, all those things I mentioned are just part of our wheelhouse, and we try new stuff. We're a little bit behind the ball with it already being 2021, but we launched on TikTok this week finally. So we're interested to see how TikTok works. It definitely seems to be a little bit of the wild west, like Snapchat was, 3-4 years ago.
How do you approach attribution, like, using all of these channels? Do you trust what platform says, which probably, it's like overlapping with each other, Facebook, Google, everyone says like attributes that sale to their platform, right? Do you approach that?
Yeah, attribution has always been such a nightmare. If we took all the platforms at face value, we'd be literally double the size we are, because if you add up all everything they claim together, it's twice the number we actually sold. So it's a challenge. What we do is we definitely look at stuff on a siloed view, which I know is not always, some people look at it holistically and look at the overall, what is your blended CAC. We still manage each platform by its individual CAC. And what we've done, just cross-referencing our data, from Google Analytics, from Looker, we have a pretty good grasp on how much each platform lies. With Facebook, we can typically say we know that they take credit typically for 20% of the stuff that someone else is going to take credit for as well. So we bake those numbers and in our CAC. It's a double-edged sword. By being conservative, our acceptable customer acquisition costs levels are probably much smaller than they can be and still be profitable. But we know with 100% confidence that if we hit, this CAC or anything below, we know even with multiple people attributing it, we know that it's still profitable. We have other channels like Snapchat for us. We're finally, for the first time in a few years, we've had success with it finally for prospecting. But for the first few years, Snapchat was only successful for us for retargeting other traffic that we sourced from Google or we sourced from Facebook or we sourced from somewhere else. And it was just mid-funnel. So mid-funnel is, a little bit having that different bucket. You're able to manage it a little bit different because you're not trying to get the customer acquisition cost there per se.
How is Snapchat? Do you think that their platform itself becomes better? They just accumulate more data so they can find buyers more efficiently, or that just like maybe what do you think the reason?
I think it's all of that. I mean, I think, like 3-4 years ago is exactly how TikTok is now. Like it's just, they get better through their learnings. And, Snapchat prospecting was their audiences it was, I don't want to say a joke, but it just wasn't very good. Their data was not what it needed to be. And I think it's taken time. It's taken feedback. It's funny, 3 years ago, I remember having a call with Snapchat and we're like, we can't keep spending this because there's just no return here. And they're like, well, you should look at Snapchat as it's just brand awareness spend. No, it's not. Like
The
we have to manage,
baby.
yeah, like great answer when the stats suck. But it was like, no. And finally through the years, they've changed their tune and now they understand, like, sure, that might work for a giant company that doesn't care and isn't managing it. But we're still a small business. So we're not spending unless it's profitable.
Yeah.
It's just not, that's not what we do. Yeah. So they finally, their audience, prospecting is finally working out. I think it just took them some time. Just like TikTok won't be where it needs to be by any means for a couple of years. So we're just experimenting on there now, seeing if the good thing is, like you can accidentally sometimes unlock something like where you are getting a SIG return just because of their data and the way they advertise works not being as tight as it should be. So sometimes you can find something that works, a campaign, and you can just scale it to an unbelievable point without seeing diminishing returns. But for the most part, it's a lot of missing. But now Snap's good for us. And we'll figure out what TikTok is like.
Cool. I want to talk about so you mentioned, one of the things that you mentioned is like you guys have acquired like two companies or a few companies that kind of like became part of your main kind of like company, right?
Yeah. So the first two subscriptions we launched after BattlBox, one was called Barbecue Box, which was a monthly subscription for recipes, rubs, seasonings, sauces. And then the third one was called Spartan Card, which was like a subscription box for fitness, supplements, workout gear, etc. We launched both of those. And then we, in 2017, or let's see, I think in 2018, we exited both of those. We sold it to a company that had a bunch of e-commerce brands. And, we were at that point focusing on, do we continue launching new brands? For both of those brands, the fundamental issue is we couldn't get them big enough. And we were missing the mark with our playbook of what to do. And they weren't worth our time. So we contemplated, do we just try this again and try to find another BattlBox, another big win? Or do we find a middle of the road, 7-figure business that we know we can just day one make a difference. So that was our focus. Probably the biggest victory. So we've done it 3 times. The biggest victory was in the middle of 2019. We purchased a monthly subscription called Carnivore Club, which is monthly subscription, artisanal meats, salamis, prosciuttos, things that would go on a charcuterie board. And Carnivore Club had been in business for 7 years. They had been on Dragon's Den, which is Shark Tank up in Canada. They had gotten a deal. It had had success, but it was really kind of stagnant in growth. And we knew that just with clear economies of scale, where we knew our shipping and our processing rates and all of that, instantly we could affect the EBITDA pretty exponentially. We also knew with our marketing strategy that we could grow the business rather quickly.
So with that one, you didn't have, like with Carnivore Club, you wouldn't have any of like Facebook issues, for instance.
Correct. Which was something that we were excited to jump in. A brand that we can advertise and not have to worry about being turned off. So yeah, they were that, and we took it over in July 2019, and we did our end of 2020 review last week, and we've literally doubled the business already.
Nice.
Which is now, a couple of things went our way. COVID, getting meat delivered to your door.
Yeah.
And not have to go to the grocery store is definitely something.
Blue Apron, or what's the name of that company, right? Like.
Yeah, Blue Apron. So there's a lot of them, and those companies are massive. Some of them, Blue Apron, I think, has $1 billion company.
Yeah.
But so we, all of our meats are shelf stable, so they don't need the refrigeration. They don't need to be shipped in dry ice, which, the managing of that from an operation standpoint would be very, very expensive. Like our storage, we have air conditioning and we keep it, temperature controlled, but we don't have it in giant fridges. That would be costly. So it's slightly different than, a Blue Apron, but it works for sure.
That's awesome. So how do you see it, like in terms of this? So subscription business, so one subscription business, so you're planning to build like a portfolio of brands and then sell it as a portfolio at a high multiple, or how do you see it? Or there's like inter-exchange between customers, like if customers buy survival products, they might buy the meat, or other way around. Like how do you?
So there's not a lot of as much crossover as you would think, but there's definitely crossovers. So what our model is having all these portfolio brands that are all very male centric. And BattlBox, for example, is 90% of the buyers are male, 10% are females, but out of that 10%, 60% of them are buying it as a gift for a male.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very, very male centric brand. All of the other brands are Grenade Soaps, another one, very male centric. Going Gear, very male centric. Carnivore is a little bit different because it's about a split of men and women. Men typically love salami, love fatty meats, but women also love to make charcuterie boards. So it is a nice mix. But what we do is we definitely share the data in between the brands, and we have automations where someone comes in from Carnivore Club, or someone comes in from BattlBox. Eventually, depending on their behavior, to our newsletter and emails, at some point, our math makes a decision like they are not going to buy. And when we know that they're not going to buy for BattlBox, we start showcasing them, showing them the other brands. They'll start getting email for the other brands. They'll start getting ads for the other brands. The goal is eventually to have some product in the portfolio that every male wants to buy. And just going through the list. And eventually we're gonna get something where they're gonna be like, oh, that's pretty cool, I want that. So that's obviously the focus. Yeah, I think when you start having all these brands, it definitely becomes attractive from a multiplier if there is an exit, right? A company that does a couple $1 million a year that might get a smaller multiplier all of a sudden because they're in this big portfolio. it's completely fair that they would all get the same multiplier. And the cool thing is that it's funny because when we look at our team and we're all talking, we kind of we have the feel of an agency. We're an agency that does everything because, like, so Walter Hicks, so he's been with us for over 4 years at this point. He started in our warehouse doing fulfillment. He was in school. He did an internship, a marketing internship with us his last year, came on board as our marketing coordinator. We've now just made him the director of marketing, but he oversees marketing for all of our brands, right? He's looking at him or his team is looking at the social calendar for every single brand, the email series, the campaigns for every single brand. We have everything compartmentalized. Curtis is up in Toronto. He was with Carnivore Club. He had been with Carnivore Club for 3 years prior to, joining us. So he's been there close to 5 years now. He runs Amazon for every single brand. So we have this like very agency feel where we're all dealing with, 4, 5, 6 brands, but we're all doing what we're good at in each one. So it also, the day's never mundane because you're looking at different brands and taking our same high level strategy and then making tweaks to it to make it work for each brand and each message. It's interesting.
That's awesome. So what are typically the multipliers on subscription companies? Let's say 8-figure, 10 million in revenue, subscription business. What would be like?
So you start looking at comparables. There's definitely a magic number when you're in 9 figures. You start looking at some interesting multipliers.
5x, 7x revenue, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, you like stupid stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think you start talking about 8-figure businesses like us, depending on the profitability, depending on really what the acquirer's plans are, where can they, increase efficiency, where can they day one make an impact on the bottom line. I would think you're seeing EBITDA multipliers typically between 5 and 7x.
Okay. All right. Still higher than businesses that are let's say up to 5 million revenue, where it would be 2,
right.
3, 4.
Yeah. So our acquisitions of the small 7 figures have typically been 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of those things, again, when you hit if we're able to ever hit that 9 figure, then it's a completely different ball game then. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. But you start looking at the type of company, private equity or just very large company that would buy a portfolio like ours, and while our EBITDA might be X and they might be paying 5 or 7x, at the end of the day, with their efficiencies, they're making that money back in way less time.
Yeah,
they're still figuring out a way to get back their investment within 2 to 3 years. Just like we look at the 3x multiplier, and how can we with our efficiency make it happen in 2 years. They're doing the same thing in ways that we don't have the power to do, right?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like Chewy, for example, right? That they bought the business for 3 billion and then they took it public for 20, or the valuation, the market cap. It's who made more money, the founder or the company that bought it?
Yeah, it's insane. But then you look at those large companies that are public, and you look at their market cap, you look at their value in relation to their revenue, and you see a lot that are in that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 range, where their value there is pretty substantial. It's a pretty substantial multiplier off their revenue, right? Which is interesting because then you look at, bad example here, but Chewy being publicly traded, right? Let's say they decided that, hey, we want to go. So Chewy went public, right? Yeah. So let's say they decided that they want to start buying e-commerce companies and be e-commerce subscription experts to go in addition with it, right? You look at, I almost kind of just want to look up, let's see, their NASDAQ. I'm just curious because, you look at I guess I could pull it up at a later time, but look at the revenue, you look at what their market cap, what they're worth, and it might be like 12x their revenue, right?
Yeah.
So they could buy us for 6x, and then day one, that 6x is now worth 12x.
Yeah.
They've doubled it day one just by signing. So it's an interesting dynamic when you start dealing with large companies publicly traded that already have these very high multipliers off their revenue and value, that it makes sense to go 7x EBITDA, because not only can they increase efficiency to make the payback less, but day one it's worth double the price to them just by them owning it versus us.
Yeah, definitely. How's your, in terms of from the perspective of supply chain with subscription model, how, let's say, because now you have like four main packages, how your kind of like cost efficiency as you increase the volume, was this like substantial like decrease in cost of goods and services, or was it more like?
Yeah, so we really hit it's interesting. So our supply chain, whole nother story, has been such a nightmare these last few months. Just with, we're really feeling for the first time dealing with COVID, just just simply because things are staying in ports for weeks,
Yeah.
not coming in. The process, we're stuff that should have been in our hands, 60 days ago are not here. So it's that's a whole nother story of just, and then, container prices are up like 300% in the last 2 months. That's a whole nother deal. But when you, going back to your question about supply chain, I mean, there were efficiencies. The biggest efficiency was when we got to the unit amounts, and it was always dependent on different brands and the type of thing we were purchasing. But when the manufacturer doesn't have 6,000 of something, maybe 4 or 5,000 is like the magic number. But for some it'll be a couple thousand, for some greater. But when the manufacturer, which is a brand name that everyone's heard of sometimes, doesn't have that on the shelf, that means they need to go into a production run just for us. So when they're going in a production run, it definitely, the margin starts to look a lot better, because they can then piggyback that off and get their costs down more. And then the other big thing on supply chain, when we started going to manufacturing ourselves, not specifically ourselves, but finding partners and finding manufacturers to build specific stuff, gear for us. Obviously, when we did that versus buying from a vendor that might have it on stock, you start seeing really the economies of scale and the margins start getting better and better.
Would this business make sense for like manufacturing in the United States or no?
So what we try when possible to manufacture in the US, right? Like we definitely want to when we can. And some stuff, so Grenade Soap, which is one of our soap brands, cool bars of soap. You can see it back there that they're shaped as a grenade. They give some great scents. But we manufacture that completely in the USA.
Grenade Soap?
Yeah, Grenade Soap.
Oh, nice. Is it on Amazon?
We might. I'm not. I should know this, but I don't know if we do. Grenadesoap.com.
Oh, Grenade Soap. Wow, that's nice to me.
So, for example, for all these soaps, we make them all in the U.S. We have a amazing soap partner we found in Tennessee, and we were actually, last time I was in Miami we were meeting a perfume company down there. And they helped us come up with the scents. And then once we had that in their lab, they came up with the scents. We then would send the recipe over to the soap maker in Tennessee, and they would, order large barrels of it. But yeah, so when we can, but the reality is, for any products, I mean, it's a sad reality that the cost is typically too prohibitive to have it made in the US of A, right? Like, you want to buy the US item, but do you really want to pay twice the price? People say they want to buy it, but they don't want to pay twice the price. They want to complain that something's, why is it so expensive? Well, because it's made in the United States, right? So, we're just not, and we haven't done ourselves any favor becoming more competitive. We're just not competitive with a lot of manufacturing. It just is what it is. Even with tariffs, we're still eons more expensive. I mean, what have you seen? Have you seen anything like
Yeah,
that?
the same. I mean, those products like, the cosmetics, I mean, those can be manufactured like in the United States and margins are still like very, but then, yeah, all other stuff that's like requires heavy manufacturing. It's like most of the time. Also, we have some of our clients, they have the manufacturing in the United States for like apparel, some custom metal like fabrication, those kind of
Sure.
things, like print on demand. So those type of things, they can be worked out, like, the matte is still good in the United States, but then other products, no, not most of them still important.
Yeah, the products that have like extreme high margins, like apparel, right? You can make it in the US of A because the margins are stupid anyway, right? It's a couple
Yeah.
dollars for a shirt that's selling for 30. So it can cost 40% more to make it here, and it still makes tons of money and still has amazing margins. It's interesting.
Cool. So how do you guys you take products from like other brands? Let's say when you compile the subscription boxes, you take products from other brands, or these are like your own private label products that you just put together in a box?
So it's a combination. So we have a couple in-house brands. Sometimes just BattlBox, a few others, Lord and Field. Sometimes we'll do a Grenade Soap Co product in a BattlBox. And so we'll manufacture those, but we actually go to a lot of half the box, sometimes more is other brands. We'll just go to them, and some of them have seen and are familiar with BattlBox. Some you have to explain, like, look, we're not a typical reseller. Like, we're not selling this product. We're including it in a box. So we have to educate on us, truly being a marketing engine. And we're not gonna we can't pay wholesale rates. Like, we need to pay cost plus, because part of the value add we give you, you buy this $160 box, but if you source it all on your own, it would be $300-400 sometimes. So that's part of our value add. So we can't pay the normal wholesale rates, or we would lose money. So it's interesting. It's as far as the brands go, though, I mean, a lot of them have seen so much value. Like, it's pretty cool when you get the emails from the company, like, holy cow, like, we include this coupon code in your box to buy more, and everybody's buying it. So it's interesting. It's definitely a nice balance of some stuff we manufacture, but some stuff we go to big brands and buy.
What's your typically, like, how many months the person stays with like subscriptions?
It ranges by brand. We're typically seeing across all the brands, typical is somewhere in the 4 to 6 month range. After that, they typically fall off.
I never thought I would be like buying subscription products, but I'm buying the athletic greens, the supplements, and it's just like, it's so convenient, right? You have to think about it. Just like comes into the comes into the mailbox like every month.
It's funny. There's so many things that like are now subscriptions that I think COVID, just like how COVID helped e-commerce in general, I think it really helped the subscription box niche, because there's so many things that you're going to order over and over again, or you want over and over again. It might as well just not have to worry about buying them, and they just come. Amazon really, they perfected this model with their subscribe and save.
Yeah.
They figured it out. Now ours is different because it's a surprise and it's different each month. But if you love salamis and prosciuttos and cured meats, that's good. You want it to be different each month.
Yeah. Cool. So slightly different topic. Like, in terms of hiring, how do you guys like structure your team? Like, do you have everyone like remote, or you have an office where you come together?
Yeah. So obviously we're pretty remote, but we have everything kind of in three silos, if you will. So there's come to my own last. So Daniel is the partner that came up with the idea. So they have an office, and it's in Georgia. It's about outside of Savannah, about 4 hours south of myself. And in that office, it's him. It's our head of content, a guy named Brandon Curran. He's the one that's in all of our videos. He's the funny one on our Netflix show. He's there. We have our CFO lives about 30 minutes away, so he'll come in the office a couple times. We have another couple of guys there, but really that place, the focus is content, video content, and then product procurement gets ran out of there. So they're testing the products, they're deciding what to put purchase orders in on, etc. And then you go up about north 2 hours, and that's our warehouse. So it's in Middle Georgia. So we fulfill everything ourselves. So we have, that's our largest of the 2 offices. That's our largest, or out of our 3 offices, that's our largest office, just because there's so many employees that are packing the boxes. We also, we obviously have some leadership there. Our COO, another one of the principals, Patrick, he runs that facility. And then we have, the guy that runs the warehouse team, the guy that runs inventory management, Jared, who runs the one-time shop, the marketplace. And then you go all the way north past me completely up to Toronto. So we have an office in Toronto that it was originally the Carnivore Club office. But we kept the office when Carnivore joined us, and those guys are up there, and Max is up there. He focuses on product procurement for all the meat boxes, and then Curtis is up there as well, and he focuses on Amazon for all brands. So we do have some structured offices. You go back down to me, and my entire team is remote, including myself. So we have people spread all over. Walter's actually in Georgia as well, but you look over to Luke. Luke heads up customer experience and customer service. He's in Tennessee, and he was in Indiana before that. So it doesn't matter where he is. And his team, all of our CS members are completely remote too. So, we can't all be remote because we need to shoot content, so that, that office has to stay. In the warehouse can't be remote. And then up to Toronto, they do some fulfillment out of there too, so they can't be remote. So anybody that can be remote, that's not actually physically needed is. So we're almost in a hybrid model, if you will.
That's awesome. So was it before the COVID or after the COVID when you kind of like adapted like this?
We were always in a hybrid model. I've been remote, since the beginning.
Cool. What would be your main 3 pieces of advice, considering all the mistakes? Obviously you probably made some mistakes along this journey. What would be your main 3 pieces of advice to let's say an entrepreneur who is, let's say, at 6-7 figure level, wants to scale up to 8 and wants to build the valuable business? What would be your main 3 pieces of advice?
Sure. So we made the mistake when we were small 7 figures, but in general, it's laughable, and it's definitely the biggest mistake we ever made, is that we were dependent on a single lead source. To someone that's doing that now, that has been fortunate, and in our case lucky enough to get to 7 figures on a single source, don't wait for it to stop working, right? You don't want all your eggs in one basket, immediately. Always test stuff. Some stuff has worked that we didn't think would, and then some stuff hasn't worked more, but test everything. Try to diversify as much as you can on lead sources, and don't wait. It's easy to say, oh, we'll look at that one next month, and just keep pushing it off. Try to spread yourself as wide as possible. Try as many different advertising avenues as you can, and when you find something, and that's the second piece, when you find something, don't slowly scale it. Scale it as fast as you can. We made that mistake. We were in 2015, we were acquiring new subscribers for $5 a piece.
Holy shit.
Why didn't we clear out our bank account, max out every single credit card, and scale that as much as we could? We got 2,000 new customers our 3rd month. We could have gotten 30,000.
Wow.
Now we're giving high fives when we're acquiring a customer for a 20x that. Not even 20x, I take it back, for a 10x that. And it's that's something that now when we find a new lead source that works, we still, TikTok, for example, if we'll do testing for the next couple of months, but if we find something that works, that's profitable, and we're confident that the attribution's right on it, the customer acquisition cost makes sense, we are going to scale that 100% as fast as we can, as fast as possible, dump as much money into it as possible. Like there's not any like slow scaling, like go. Because you don't know when it's going to stop working. You don't know when that platform's going to make an algorithm change and your campaign strategy isn't as effective, right? We've seen through the years so many campaigns. Facebook's the worst at it. Something's working just great, and we're getting like a 7x return on ad spend. And we're like, this is great, and all of a sudden something changes, in that same campaign that was getting a 7x is getting a half a x, and we're killing it. And we're like, what happened? So I think just going as fast as possible, and that goes into the third piece too. It's I think entrepreneurs, especially when they have other stuff going on, they like to talk and strategize and come up with the strategy. Sometimes they spend too much time on that, and it takes them 6-7 months to execute. Like, get it half right, get as much of it as you can, the bare minimum, the MVP, get what you need to start and fire and go, and keep course correcting, keep getting better, keep aiming. And I think it's better to jump right away and make those course corrections and slight pivots and changes and take those learnings in, versus 6 months of strategy to launch and then doesn't work. And then what? You're gonna then make pivots? I think people in general sometimes are scared to pull the trigger. They want everything to be perfect. In reality, it's never going to be perfect, ever. So many of the things we've launched look so vastly different from what they are today, just because we find learnings. Okay, this isn't selling. We're not getting acceptable customer acquisition costs. Okay, what's the problem? Do we need to change price point? Do we need to change offering? Does the value proposition need to change? Like, let's jump in. If it doesn't work, let's try to fix it and launch again and run ads again and just keep going. As opposed to 6 months of deciding what the price point should be. No, go, and if you're wrong, you can fix it. That 6 months, you could have lost your opportunity, right?
Such a good point. A lot of great insights. Thank you so much, John. I know you're a busy man. You guys are running multiple brands, and thank you so much for sharing this insight. So how do people find you? How do people connect with you?
So you can search my name on LinkedIn. It comes up.
We'll put a link so you guys can connect with John.
Yeah, I have a
John,
I was gonna say I have a blog, onlinecaso.com. So I give random tidbits of insight, things we're seeing working, things that aren't working, venting and frustration as well. Just my blog, but it's a lot of good stuff there.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll share it also in the comments. Thank you so much for jumping on this, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a lot of value from it. I personally got a lot of insights and a lot of perspective, and especially from the perspective of the subscription business as a whole, because I thought it's kind of like oversaturated, right? But I think there's a lot of opportunities, the same way you have found the opportunity for your brand, right? Like in that space, there's probably opportunity for the subscription brand, like in different areas, in different niches.
Yeah, the opportunity is in the niche for sure, and all of ours have been very niche. It's just it's very competitive, so niche is the way to have success.
Cool. Thank you so much, John, and thank you everyone who joined.
Thanks so much. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you can just like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. Thank you.